Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So today, of course, we're going to be going over the managing the evaluation process. And this is a continuation from the last training. And the last training, of course, we covered how to set up the evaluation process. And so, of course, we'll be picking up where we left off on how to manage it. And today, with me, I have Daniel Ayala. He's our sales manager. He's going to be assisting if anyone has any questions that in regards to connecting while we're on the line. He's always available to be able to assist. And then also, I'm Christine Smith. I'm the trainer here at Community Force. So if anyone's ever received one-on-one training, more than likely you've spoke with me. So again, I want to welcome everyone. And as we go through the training session today, we will break midway through for a question and answer section. And at that point, you'll be able to ask questions regarding topics that we've covered to that point. So if you have any questions, go ahead and as we're going through the session, feel free to go in and enter your questions in the question box. You don't have to wait till we get to that question section. You can enter them as the question comes up. And then when we get to that section, we'll go ahead and address those questions. So of course, to enter a question, for those that are new to GoToMeeting, you should see a little dialogue on your computer somewhere, and it should have a little orange arrow very similar to this. It could be brown if you have a newer version, and it could be like a grayish color with the orange arrow. And so of course, if you click that orange arrow, it'll expand and show a dialogue box similar to this one, a little diagram here. And you'll look for the item that says questions. And if it's got a plus sign, you can go ahead and click on it, and then it'll open up. And then to enter your question, you just simply type the question in the box here. And then once you type the question, you can hit send, and then it'll send it to us. And then we'll see that when we get to those question and answer section. And then also you'll notice you do have a little hand wave that you can wave. If you're experiencing difficulties, you can always wave your hand. And then of course, like I said, Daniel is on the line and he can assist you if you need assistance in some way. So let's go ahead and talk about who will benefit from this session. So the users that are going to benefit from this, of course, are going to be any of your administrative staff. So any admin users like your global admins, your department admins. Those are the ones that are going to be monitoring the review process. So as the reviewers are scoring, these are the individuals that would then be looking at those results. So those are the ones that are going to be benefiting from today's training, of course. And then in today's training, we're going to be talking about how a reviewer actually reviews the applicants that have been assigned to them. We're going to talk about you as an admin then as they're reviewing. How can you review status? And what review status is it helps you monitor the tasks. So if you remember last week, we assigned out tasks to the reviewers. And so what the review status does is it'll allow you to monitor those tasks that the reviewers are actually reviewing. And then review results, we'll talk about that. That's after they've scored. How do you see those scores? And then the automated scoring results report, as well as how to create ad hoc reports on those scoring results. So let's go ahead and go to our site. So let me get the site brought up here. And of course, I am logged in on the back end as an admin. So I've logged in with administrative rights, and I'm on the home page. Now, the evaluation process, as we discussed last week, here on the home page, you can access it by clicking this evaluation icon here, or you can also use this navigation down here and access evaluations that way. So of course, if I click it here, then of course I would want to locate the application I'm currently working on because each application has its own evaluation process. I would select that application. And then once I select it, I come to that evaluation dashboard. Now last week, remember, we were in evaluation setup. That's where we set up the tasks, we created the committees, and then we assigned the applicants to the committees as well as the tasks that the committees were going to be assigned. So today we're going to talk about the evaluation process, how to evaluate, how to monitor, and review that here in the Evaluate Applicants. So the first thing I want to talk about is since we made the assignments last week, the next step then, of course, is after you've assigned everything out, you've notified your reviewers, the next step is how do the reviewers review? So how reviewers review, I'm going to go back home. And as we also mentioned, when you're making assignments and adding committee members to committees, that if you are a global administrator or a department administrator, you actually have the ability to be put on a committee to review. So if that's the case, you as an admin, when you log in on your home dashboard, you have an icon down here in the lower left-hand corner called Review Applicants. So if you've been assigned applicants to review, or maybe you even had a process where you are signing out staff members that have administrative rights, you gave them a task, they access those review assignments through the Review Applicants. Now when I click this icon, this takes you to what we call the Reviewers Dashboard. So this dashboard that I'm looking at right here, this is the dashboard of anyone who has a role type of reviewer that once they log in, if I'm a reviewer, I have a role type of a reviewer and I log in, this is the dashboard I come to. And you'll see on this dashboard it shows the applicants that I've been assigned to review. I could be assigned multiple applications. If you're a client that has multiple applications, you have multiple committees, committee members that sit on multiple committees, they'll see each application process, as well as they could be in multiple tasks in that application process. This one here, this is the one we're working with today. I was assigned 3 different tasks in this specific application process because I sit on 3 committees. I sit on the McCord Scholarship, the Kessler Scholarship, and the Bott Scholarship. So those 3 committees are the ones that I sit on. So of course, when I'm ready to score, I can see here how many applicants I've been assigned in each process. And then of course I can come over here, click the task I want to start reviewing. And then once I click that task, when I click on it, it'll show me where I'm at. So here as a reviewer, I can see, okay, I'm 100% complete. And then this specific applicant I haven't completed yet. And then the score I've given and the final scoring comment. And so let me go ahead and show you another one. So of course, if I wanted to go back, I guess go back to Review Applicants. And then I'm back here in Review Applicants. And then I can do another one. Choose that one. And then here I can see I'm 100% scored. These are my scores. And then the scoring comment. Now remember, the scoring comment column, this was that question when we built the task. When we were building the task, there was that question that we were able to tag as a scoring comment. So this is how it shows for the reviewers. They have this column, they see scoring comment, and that specific question that was tagged as a scoring comment, the reply that they put in that will show here in this column. So of course, when I'm ready to score, all I need to do is come over here, click on the applicant's name that I want to score. It'll open up the screen like this. And as soon as it opens up here, this is what the reviewer will see. And they'll see the applicant, the scorecard that they're working on, the task, the applicant's name. And then over here, they'll see the actual scoring card where they're going to do the scoring. And then to the right, they actually see that application. And they can scroll through the application. They can review that application. And then, of course, if there's any attachments to that application, they can access those just as well. By here, this one, they can go to the actual question, click on it, open it up, and review it that way. Or they can scroll all the way to the bottom of the page and go, and this will give them a listing of every document that's been attached to that specific application form. They can click on it and they would see it in that specific format that the document was uploaded as. Also, a reviewer has the ability, if they want to, they can actually expand this. So to expand it, they come over here, and this little arrow is telling them to kind of hover over until they get this double arrow. They then left click, they can pull it over, expand it, and then they have the scorecard a little bit wider if they choose. But of course you can tell here, it does shrink the application form. So then, they can leave it like this, or they can shrink it back. Or they also have a couple of options where they can see the scorecard here, but they can actually open up another tab up here and see the application that way. So if I click View Application, you'll see it's opening up another tab, and it's going to give me that same view, but on a separate tab. So then, of course, I can bounce back, do my score, go back, look at the application, bounce back, do my score. Also, you'll see they have a PDF version if they choose that. Instead of the view application, the PDF version, theirs actually says reviewer PDF. I'm logged in with administrative rights, so of course mine says admin PDF. But if they're a reviewer and there's questions hidden from the reviewer, of course theirs is going to say reviewer PDF. They're going to click on the PDF, and when they open it, they'll have those items hidden. So when I hit that admin PDF, what it will do is open up another tab. I might have opened it too many times. I didn't see it spinning. And then when it opens up, give it a minute. There it goes. It'll download here. I can open it up. And then, of course, instead of having this view, I can have a PDF view. It's just being a little slow and loading today for some reason. There we go. A PDF view, and that PDF view, of course, would give me the documents at the bottom attached so that they could review those documents as well. So, of course, so they have this tab they can view, and then, of course, when they're done with it, they would want to close it out. And the same with the PDF, they'd have to close that tab, and then they're back here and done with the review. So, of course, to score, it's just a matter of them coming in, entering the scores. Anything that has an asterisk, they can answer. Anything that doesn't have an asterisk, they can bypass. So I'm just going to quickly score this applicant here. So you can see, and then final comments, that's that scoring comment. That they can enter something. And then they have a couple of options. They have save, save and exit. And this specific reviewer, this is the last applicant, but if I chose one of the first ones, there would be a save and next. When I hit save and next, it takes me to the next applicant. Now there is a special setting, and when I click this, you'll see it, and then I'll explain. A lot of our clients have it turned off, but we do have the ability, especially for clients that have lots of applications live, lots of reviewers reviewing, you're using the exact same scorecard. You have all these scholarships, but it's all the same scorecard. You have a committee member on the same committee. Applicants are matched to multiple scholarships. They could be matched to one, and they could also be in two. I'm a reviewer, a committee member. I'm reviewing those applicants. So I actually have that set up in this scenario. So if I hit save, if I just hit save, what it does is it just keeps me on the page. But it also shows me as a reviewer, I'm actually been assigned to review this applicant also in another task. And so what it's saying is, if I want to, do I want to push my scores for this applicant that I just scored here onto this scorecard as well? And anything that's the same match with that same XML when that question scorecard was built will then dump into this scorecard as well. I don't have to score them again. If I don't want that to happen, I can just hit cancel and bypass this. Like I said, this is a function that's turned on in site settings on my site. And so, like I said, it comes defaulted turned off. So if this is something that you might be interested in, you can always contact Community Force. You can contact Daniel or the sales team, and they can help you in regards to how to, or enter a support ticket, I should say. And not Daniel, enter a support ticket, and support would be able to assist you in getting that site setting set. So of course, if I did want to flow down, I just select them, I click save, and then in that other form, then those questions would then be answered for that applicant as well. Once I hit save, you'll see I'm still on this page, but a nice feature you have is once they save their information, they can actually get a PDF here, a reviewer scorecard PDF. And what that does is gives them the scorecard in a PDF form if they want it. They can save it, they can print it out, and then they can have a copy of that entire scorecard and how they scored that applicant in just a PDF version. So that's what that does, but it has to be after they've clicked save, because of course if there's not any data, they haven't scored yet, then this isn't going to run, it's going to be blank. So that's what happens when they save. If they hit save and exit, of course, it'll take them. I'm going to get this message again, so I'm just going to Say save, and then I'm going to go out. And now I'm back here on the page, and now I see, okay, I'm 100% complete with this applicant. Here's the scores I gave, here's the scoring comment. Another nice feature for the reviewers, this is only on the reviewer dashboard, is this export to Excel. So the export to Excel, what it does is creates an Excel spreadsheet of this scorecard and all the reviewers I've scored. And then every score that I scored, it actually puts into that spreadsheet, into a spreadsheet format, and then I can have that as well to save if I wish. So that is, so then if I go back to review applicants, then I'm here, and then I've got these reviews again. And you'll see now that one that I pushed, it does show that that is 100% complete, and I'm done with that review as well. So that's pretty much how the reviewers review. So before I go on, let's just see if you have, in regards to the reviewers and how, because you're going to be training your reviewers on how to do this. So does anyone at this point have any questions in regards to how the reviewers review? I'll give you a minute here. If you type in your questions if you have any. And then while you're doing that, okay, so it doesn't look like we have any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So now the reviewers are reviewing. This is how they review. Oh, looks like we do have a question. Hold on just a minute here. Okay, so someone said if you push scores, does the task have to match 100% or can it partially match? It's usually got to be 100% match for that to happen. The XML is how it matches. So of course, if the XML matches from one scorecard to another, then of course, yes, it would still import from those. And then right now there's a question, is there a way to have the scorecard and application scroll down at the same time? And at this time, no, because scorecards are built independent of that application form. And so, of course, every client builds it different. And so it would be impossible to try to line up the question with the way it falls onto that specific application form. They're not linked in any way. It's a separate task and it's not linked at all to that application form. So it's not possible at this time to do the scrolling. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go back to the taskbar here and log into my site and go back home. And we'll talk a little bit about now they're reviewing. How do you monitor them as they're reviewing? How do you do that? So let's go into evaluations. And again, we're going to choose that application form. And to monitor, you're going to get, again, here, and evaluate applicants is where you would do that. And so this is the dashboard in regards to the evaluation process. And so once you've set it up, everyone's reviewing, this is where you're going to be working. So here in review status, you'll notice this icon here. If I click on that, this opens up and shows me on this application form what are the tasks that are active, tasks that are turned on. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit in just a second, about turning tasks off and on, how that affects the scoring. But right now you're just monitoring the reviewers and what are the reviewers doing. So here you can see, okay, I have this scorecard, I have this one, I have this one. I have 6 assignments in this scorecard, 5 are incomplete and 1 is complete. This one, I have 8 assignments, none are incomplete, and they're all complete. So this tells me this scorecard, all of my reviewers are done reviewing. And then this scorecard, I can see I have 9 assignments, 3 are incomplete, and 6 have been completed. So of course, I can just see like this one, if I want to see what's going on, all I have to do is click on that scorecard. And I can see who my reviewers are. If I wanted to see how they scored that specific applicant, I would have to go over here to that score sheet. I can actually sort on this column. So let's say I want to put all my committee members together. Here I have support, 100% complete. Christine Smith, committee member, 100% complete. You know, how did she score Patricia? I can click on that name, pull it up, and see how she scored that individual. And it's going to spin. There we go. And go back. And then, of course, I can go back and come back to this dashboard. And again, that's in review status. If I, like here, if I come into this specific one here, I can click on it. I can see sort by committee members if I want, or I can actually come over here to completed because I know that didn't have it all completed. If I click it again, it'll reverse it, and I can see, okay, this reviewer, Maggie Pugh, hasn't gotten her reviews done. I need to contact her and notify her, you know, it's getting close to deadline. Can she please go in and review? Same with this one here. If I click on here, then again, I can see who's reviewed and who hasn't reviewed, who's complete and who's not complete through this monitoring system here. And then also I have the ability to export. This, unfortunately though, on my side, the admin side, when I export, it just shows the specific report in the export. Now let's say you have a scenario, and as a user of the system, I wouldn't broadcast this. You can if you wish. But let's say you have a reviewer who contacts you and they just can't, they're not technologically savvy. They're having a hard time entering their scores. They contact you and say, hey, can you enter these scores for me? You do, as the administrator, have the ability to do that. So to do that, how you would is, again, in review status, and you'll notice here, I am on the first page. I'm not drilling down. I'm not clicking in. And up here at the top navigation, you'll see this select reader. When I click that select reader, it gives me all of my reviewers that have been assigned on my tasks for this application form. I find the reviewer that wants me to assist them. And then I can hit switch. There's two different Maggie Pughs. So let's see if I can get the right one here. And then I can see that they've been assigned this application. So now you'll notice when I hit switch, I'm now logged in as her, and I'm at that reviewer's dashboard, and I'm only seeing the assignments she's been given as assignments. So of course, here's the application, here's her task. I can go in, hit that task, and then go in and score for her. So it's just a matter of clicking on each applicant, filling in the scores. We'll do that real quick here because I'm logged in as her. And then save and next. And you can see as we hit save and next, it then takes me to the next applicant, and then I can score and do the same for that applicant as well and go on throughout the system. So of course then, once I'm done scoring for that individual, I have a switch back here. So here I can see I've scored them, I've given them a score. I can actually hit switch back. And now I'm logged in as myself again, and I have full access to the site, and I'm back here on this dashboard. So I know I'm logged in as myself. So that's something you want to watch for, is when you switch back, you want to make sure you're logged in as yourself. And then if I wanted to select another one, I could go ahead and go in, select another reviewer, and become that one person as well. So that's how you have the ability to do that. So now let's talk about, once they're done reviewing, how do you review results? So review results can be a little tricky in regards to your tasks. If you have a one-to-one process, so you have one application, one funding source, and when you review, you just have one review, then it's very simple. When you open up review results will give you the results for every single task you have that is active on the site on that specific application form. So what I mean by that is in this specific application form, I have 3 tasks. I have those 3 different scholarships. Each scholarship has its own task. Now, when I come here to review results, you're going to see completed here. It shows the percentage complete and then the average score. However, if I have all of those tasks currently turned on, how the system compiles the average is that it looks at every task that that applicant's been assigned in, every reviewer they've been assigned to. So if they've been assigned in, they've matched to 3 scholarships. So I'm an applicant and I'm fortunate enough to have been matched into 3 scholarships. And so of course all 3 committees are reviewing me. Then if those tasks are turned on when you're looking at results, like this one here, you'll see that I'm seeing results for BOTS, I'm seeing results for Kessler, and I'm seeing results for McCord. This applicant matched in all 3 of them. And of course, they're not done in these 2, but how the system picks up is it's noticing it's taking this total score, 136, across all of those tasks that are turned on, and then dividing the 136 by these individuals, all of them that have been assigned to review that applicant to get the average. So of course, more than likely when you're looking at scores, so when you're looking at a specific scholarship or a specific task, you want to just see the scores for that task. So what you can do is, of course, when looking at tasks, if that's how you're reviewing them, this can be a little complex, is you have to first go into the valuation setup, go into your tasks, and find the ones that, of course, apply to your process. So I have these 3 tasks right here. And let's say I only want to see the scores currently right now. Kessler, I know, is 100% complete. I don't want to see McCord and I don't want to see BOTS. So I'm going to go in on McCord. I'm going to click the name here. I'm going to turn this off. And when I remove this check mark here, don't remove it from reviewers because that means the reviewers can't access it. This is just removing it from the administrative side. Now, this removes it everywhere. So anytime I try to run a report, if this isn't selected, it's not going to show up in any drop downs anywhere on the site as long as this is not selected. So of course, once I'm done with my results and I want to run reports, I might want to come back here and turn it on. So I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to also look at BOTS. I don't want to look at that one yet, so I want to turn that one off and save and exit. The only one I want to see when I look at my results is this one right here. This is the only one you can see right now that is turned on. So now when I go back, so I'm going to click the name of the application form to go back. I'm going to hit Evaluate Applicants. I'm going to go into Review Results. And now when I'm looking at results, now you'll notice 100% complete. The reason that is because I'm only looking at the task that I have turned on, which is Kessler. Now these scores here I know because I know I've turned my tasks on. If you're still not sure, you can always come here, click on the number, and now I'll see, okay, this is only the Kessler scorecard, and it's taking this score, 51, and dividing by 2 to get me that average score now. It's only picking up that specific task. So then, of course, I can pick up these scores. I can make my determination from this if I wish, or I can actually export this to Excel. And then before I switch tasks, I have this so I don't have to keep turning it off and on. I can export it to Excel, and now I have it in an Excel format. And then, of course, once I'm done with this task, I would go back, go into the setup, and then I'm ready to review maybe the other ones. So then I would take this one, I would turn it off, and then choose my next one in line that I would want to see, and then I would turn it on, and then I can go back, go into the Evaluate, review the results, and now I'm seeing just the results for the BOTS. You can see here, the reason this is 67% is because all my reviewers have not turned their scores in for this specific task. You can see here, here's the 3, and it does pick them up and it will put them into the average so of course they need to score because it will add them into the average even though they haven't scored. Okay, so that's review results. That's how you see the scoring results. So I'm going to also then, here in Evaluate Applicants, I'm going to go back. I'm going to turn these on because the next thing I want to show you is ad hoc reports. But before I show you ad hoc reports, and of course if I don't turn these on, then they won't show in the drop down of ad hoc reports. So I can't run reports on these tasks if I don't turn them on. So in this scenario, we would be done, and now all I want to do is run reports. So I can come here, evaluate applicants, and the next thing I wanted to show you too for results, because you'll notice here in review results, it doesn't show the automated scoring totals. So if you use automated scoring, you've set automated scoring up, how do you get those totals? Well, here in automated scoring report, you can actually get a report of the applicant and then how they scored based on the automated scoring. If you want to see how the score is being picked up, you can come over here, view automated score sheet, and then whatever automated scores you set up, it'll show you what their answer was and what the score was given for that specific answer. What's also nice is in this report is if you use the export feature here, it will actually, if you have those scores entered, if you don't want to click in on each individual applicant to see how the breakdown is, if you run this export to Excel, it'll actually give you the breakdown. It'll say the GPA score. It doesn't tell you what their answer was, of course, but it'll show you the question you had set to be an automated score. That's the question name, and then this was the total score. So if you had multiple questions, it would have multiple questions, and then the total for all of them that they actually were given automatic scores for. So that's how you would review the results on that. So let's go ahead and stop there, because then, of course, the next thing I want to show you, because that's it on the results, the next thing I want to show you then is how to create ad hoc reports to get scoring results. So you have the review results report, which I just showed you, where you can see results. You have the review status, where you also can see, if you click in, you can get a result for just that task by committee member and get a total. You don't get an average, but you do get a total that you can export. That's one way to get results. And then the third way, of course, is ad hoc reports. So before I jump to ad hoc reports, let's see if you've got any further questions, and we'll see if we can answer those before we jump to another gear. So if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them. I'll give you a minute to do that. Here we go. Okay, so someone's asking, can you use automated scoring for one part of the scoring rubric and then have the other parts of the scorecard assigned for the reviewers? So the scorecard itself has to be scores that the reviewers score on. You can't have automated scores show in the scorecard. It's a separate report. Because that's the system scoring, it's not reviewers. There's no way for the reviewers to see what that automated score is and what those individual scores were. That has to be something that is set up as an automated score, and it's two separate areas that you look at those. So the scorecard is only scores that the reviewers are entering. There's no way to have automated scoring show up on that scorecard. The combining of the totals, however, just so you know, and this is something we're going to show you next month in training in the awarding piece, but there is a screen, and if you notice, let's see, batch awards, there's two different ways to award. And you'll notice in this screen it gives the total, the average, and the automated score. Now this screen also is by task. So if you have all the tasks turned on, it's going to this total score and average score is going to be there. But then here you also are able to see the automated score on this screen. And that's in batch awards. And then manage awards, which will explain the difference between those two. I don't know that it gives you the breakout. Yes, it does. It does give you the automated score on that as well. And what's nice with this one is, of course, this is designed for one-to-many processes where you can have your tasks and you can choose the task by scorecard and see just the scores for that task. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but you can see this actually gives you the total, the average, and the automated scoring on this screen. But of course, when reviewers are scoring, there's no way to have the automated scoring show in those totals. And hopefully that answered your question. And then also regarding that is something that I have heard others ask for that. And so of course we will definitely share that with the development team. And I know Daniel's on the line, and so he will definitely be on top of that. And then to combine the total score, there's nothing that combines the score. The only thing you'd have to do is like this report here, you could export it, and then you'd have to run your totals in your Excel spreadsheet, of course, to get those two to add together. Okay, and okay, task as a filter, I'm not quite understanding that. That's always something, if you have a suggestion of something that might better enhance the system, you can always enter a support ticket in support into Zendesk, and then they do track any requests for site enhancements. So that is something that would be nice. If you have an idea, it's always nice to enter those into Zendesk so that if it's something that we see a need for and we see multiple clients asking for it, then that's something that the development team might be more apt to adjust the system to fit that need. Yes, and so yes, you would still have to add that question in regards to the automated scoring, you would still have to add these together. Okay. Okay, and so now we'll continue on, and then of course there is a couple of other questions. We'll, as we go through the training today, once we get to the end, we'll talk about how to get handouts, as well as the next training session that's available. So let's go ahead and continue with the ad hoc reports. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to stay on the evaluation dashboard. So I'm going to come here, select the application form, and then go into reports. So here's applicant status, there's the setup, there's the evaluate applicants. So now we're going into reports. So let's click on reports. And when I click on the report screen here, you'll see under ad hoc reports, what it allows you to do is pull on any question that is located in your actual sections on your application form. Any question that you built in the tasks for your reviewers, as well as even in awarding, there's awarding elements you can actually pull into the ad hoc reports. So when you first open up ad hoc reports, you'll see a screen similar to this one. I do have some reports built, so of course I have reports in my listing. If you never built reports, then of course you wouldn't have anything here. But to build an ad hoc report, it's just a matter of coming up here to create new report, and I'm actually going to build a report with scoring data on one of the scorecards. And then of course you give it a name. So I'm just going to call this the and then the next one, report visibility. Visible to me only means I'm logged in as Community Force support. I could have other administrative staff. If I make it visible to me only, I'm the only one that can log in and see this report. No one else that has administrative rights can log in and see it. Visible to all would be a report I want to share with other team members that have administrative rights. Visible to all doesn't mean applicants are going to see it. reviewers aren't going to see it. It's only me and my administrative staff that have access to the back end of the site would be visible to all. And now this report includes, this is where I am then saying, I'm building this report. Now, where in the system am I going to pull my data from? What areas of this process, this application process, do I want to include in my report? Application data, I'm just going to tell you, every time you run a report, always include application data. Application data is the entire application process as a whole. Application data includes the status, so like that pending submission, submitted, that's where that is housed, is under application data. So you're always going to want to include that in your report because that's where it gets those specific fields, and you always want to put those fields in your report so you know what applicants are at what status. Because when you dump a report, it's going to put all of those applicants that have applied. And you need to be able to filter them out. Section data. Section data is any question in any section you have built as part of the actual application. So remember, when you build your application, you have sections, and in each section you have the questions that you're wanting the applicants to reply to. That's section data. So when you're running a report, any questions that you want to include in that, if they're coming from section data, you select section data. The next item, scorecard information, would be all of those tasks. And remember, tasks are also built kind of like a section. So then in the scorecard information, depending on what task I choose, then I can pull any question that I built in that specific task with the scorecard information. And then that will also pull over the committee member that reviewed that individual. It's also going to give me the scores that that committee member reviewed as well. And then award information, I'm not going to select this one because I'm not building anything on awarding, and I don't have awarding right now. So of course it's not going to give me any data. But award information, if I did award applicants and I wanted a report showing how everybody was awarded, I can always click the award information and add that data to it as well. So I'm just going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and next. I've told the system where I want to pull from. And then once I hit save and next, the next stage is now I'm building my report. So picture when you're building a report, it's just like building columns in an Excel spreadsheet. So each item you select that we're going to select here is going to be a separate column in that Excel spreadsheet. So the first step, of course, is to select my items. So I'm going to come here. You'll notice application data, section data, and if I scroll down, scorecard information. Those are the areas I chose on the front page. It's telling me the section names of every area that falls under that specific item that I selected. So application data, if I hit the double area with the double dashes, that's the actual section I'm selecting. So application data, you might want to include status. If you're using status details, you want to use status. If you're using status details, you can select those. But you can see here, here's some of the different items that it'll put in there. So then once I select to the left, I just come over here, hit the directional arrow, and this is now my first column that will be in my report, my Excel spreadsheet if I export it. Then I can go to section data and pick the section. Maybe there's some information I want to include also in the section data, so I can go to general information. Especially if I'm doing it on a specific scholarship. Maybe I want to know how the applicant answered specific questions in that application form that matched them to the scholarship. I want to make sure, that they answered those questions appropriately. So I'm just coming over here. I can select one, I can select multiple, and saying, okay, I want to see how they answered those questions. Put that in my report. This would be column A, B, C, D, E, column header status, date of birth, gender, city, state. That would all of these would be part of my report as separate columns in my Excel spreadsheet. Then of course, if I wanted to do something on a scorecard, I would pick just the one scorecard I want to include, and then I'm going to select these questions. And remember, these are the questions that were built. I had a scorecard, and this scorecard had these questions, and so I'm going to add them. And then I'm going to hit Save and Next because I want to see how my reviewers answered those scores. Save and Next. And then that'll give me the details. Now this one is where you would enter filters. And a lot of times I dump my report into Excel and then run my filters that way. But if you're doing a scoring report and you only want to see score results for a specific scorecard, you do want to add a filter for that scorecard. So you need to add a new condition to enter a filter. And then, of course, if I wanted to pull application data, maybe I wanted all the applicants that weren't pending submission, I could enter that. I could say everyone that doesn't not equal to pending submission, and I could filter out that way. But I'm just going to filter on the scorecard because this is a score report. Because if I filter on the scorecard, it's only going to give me those individuals that were assigned to that scorecard, and it's only going to give me the reviewers that actually scored. So I chose that report. The field name is task name. That's the name of the task. And what task? The one that contains, and I'm going to pick this one because that's the ones when I built my, remember when I was on the screen before this, my selection, I chose the Kessler scorecard and I said, give me the score results for that scorecard. I picked those questions for that task. So you want to make sure that those questions that you got previous over here, these questions here were from this Kessler scorecard, because you don't want to choose them from another scorecard, especially if you're cloning scorecards and it's the same scorecard, because then your results aren't going to return correctly. So that's what you want to use caution. So I'm going to come back here. Let me put scorecard, task name, and I want it to be the task of this one, and then I can hit finish. And then once I hit finish, I come back to the screen. And it's something you want to get into the habit of every time you run a report or anytime you make a change on the report, which I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. You always, before you view the reports, want to click Update Reporting Database. That updates it to the change you made. If you don't click this, it's not going to show you the changes yet. It's going to return that report without those changes. So you always just, before you run any reports, just get in the habit of looking at that. Then once you've once you've clicked it and it's updated, then you can come over here and then view that report. And then when you view it, you'll see it shows me the question. It shows me, actually gives me their first name and last name, and that comes from that application data. Then the questions I actually included, asked them to include. You can see the results on that. And then here you will see, and something you're going to see when you're doing scoring reports are, here's my applicant, but notice my applicants are entered multiple times. And the reason that is because I'm doing a scorecard. And in this scoring process, I assigned this applicant to multiple committee members. So each committee member has its own line. So you can see both of these, this is the same applicant, same data. But then once I get here, it starts giving me the committee member and the person that actually reviewed them. I can come over here. I'm going to see in this report the individual score that that reviewer gave them, as well as the comment questions that they answered. It's going to give me the total score as well as the average score for just that applicant in that process. And so that's how you would get that ad hoc report. And then, of course, when I'm done looking at what, like I said, I like to do, if you want to run totals or summation on any of this, of course, you're going to want to export it to Excel. So it's just a matter of clicking Export to Excel, and then it'll open up your Excel spreadsheet. You can enable editing and then do your functionalities in Excel that you need to do on that specific one. If you wanted to, maybe filter by your reviewers and you wanted to see if reviewers that are scoring high versus reviewers that are scoring low, things like that. You can do that through this report. And so reports, of course, you can't do any damage to the system. You can play around with the reports. You can build multiple reports. And of course, so that you can get a good feel for how to get certain results, that functionality. So of course, here's my report. So another nice couple functions we have is one, if you wanted to go in and edit a report, you can do so by clicking the edit here. But know when you edit a report that it's a permanent edit, you can't revert back. So of course, if you wanted to edit, you just go through, make any changes, hit save and next, And then if that was the only screen, maybe I just wanted to change the name, then I'm done with my edit. I can just hit cancel. I don't have to go through all of this again. I just go from one screen. Once I hit the next one, I've saved that first screen, and then I can go out to make my edits. But remember, those are permanent edits. I also, though, let's say I have this scoring report, and I maybe want an exact replica, but I want to change it to another report, another task. So I could simply do that by hitting the copy button here. And when I hit that copy button, notice it makes an exact replica. And so then I want to hit the edit because now I do want to edit it. This is the one I want to edit. The one with the date is the new one. And maybe I want to create one for a different score. Now, this is something you want to use caution because especially if you have tasks and you have all these scorecards and they were cloned from each other and they're the exact same scorecard, because this is where you can forget to do some of these steps. So of course, remember I have a separate task for the scorecard. And the other scorecard, the Kessler scorecard, had its own task, but they were exactly the same. However, so these, I'm going to keep this the same. When I come here, these questions are here, and these look like the questions that were for my new scorecard. However, remember, I pulled these from the Kessler task. So my first step is I need to get rid of these so as not to confuse myself. Remove them. Come up here, and then change the task to bots. And now I come back in. You'll notice it didn't change the names, but I changed my task. In fact, let me just go out here so you can see. And I go into bots. Now I'm selecting the task for the bots task card. I know I've switched them out. I've removed Kessler's. There's a comment on an essay here. I'm not sure which one that belongs to, so I'm going to remove it. And if you're not sure, you just bounce out. Come back in, and you know you've cleaned it. Okay, now I can select, move it over to the right, and now I know I have the bots and not the Kessler scores. Then I hit save and next, and then this is also where I want to switch out. So now this said Kessler, and it's because I cloned it from Kessler. I made that copy of the report. So now I want to make sure I switch this one, because if I don't, then it's going to give me the results, and it's going to give me not the results I want because it's the wrong card. Then I'm here. So now I have the bots, hit update reporting database. Even though it shows the date here, I still want to update that. Click OK. And then something I want to show you too when I view this is you're going to notice, since this wasn't 100% complete in the review, whoops, where'd it go here? Update. I hit the copy button, sorry about that. View, this one. It's going to only give me the reviews on the ones that have actually scored. So if a reviewer hasn't scored, so this one actually has another reviewer that's been assigned out. If a reviewer hasn't finished scoring, so you'll see this one here has 3, but this one and this applicant only has 2 because there's a reviewer that hasn't finished. That Maggie Pugh, we didn't finish scoring all of her applicants, so it's not giving me those results. It's only giving me the results on the ones that have actually scored. So you'll see that here in that report. That's something you'll notice. If they haven't scored on them, it's not going to show in this results as a 0. It's going to be completely out of there. Okay, so that's ad hoc reports. So that's pretty much it for our training today. So let's see if you have any further questions. If you have any further questions, then we'll answer those. And then if not, then we'll go ahead and close the session, and I'll give you information as to how to get some guides. So let's see if you have any questions. We'll start with that. Looks like we're good. Okay, so the handouts that coincide with today's training are located on that same task box that had the question section. Just under the question section, if you hit the area that says handouts, you'll expand that, and you'll see these modules that are available. You can click on these modules. Go ahead and click on the module, the name, and open it up, and then you can download that. Once you've opened it, you can download it and get a copy of that specific document. Save it to your local desktop so you have a copy of it. And then you'll also notice I also included a Word document. It's a reviewer's guide. And what's nice about that, a lot of our clients have asked in the past, do you have a guide that we can give our reviewers? So what that does is that's a guide that it has, of course, our screenshots, but the instructions that I went over today are included in that guide. And then all you need to do is take that guide, and then you can make your own screen, take the screenshots and switch them out with the screenshots from your site if you wish. And then that's a guide that you can give to your reviewers if you want something to give to them that's helpful for them. And then, of course, our next session is going to be next month on Tuesday, August 15th. In that session, we'll follow sync with the next steps of your processes, which would then be how to award your applicants. You've now determined who are the ones to receive the awards. So then how do you do that awarding? So we'll be covering that next training session, as well as post-acceptance and acceptance sections. Those will be in that session. So those are sections that would be maybe once you award an applicant, then you have an acceptance section. How does that get activated so the applicant can complete it to accept the award? What functionality we have there for that. And then also maybe you have quarterly reports or monthly reports or a sub-year report that you want your applicant to complete. Once they've been awarded, maybe kind of a follow-up section that they can come in and answer. How do you capture those questions in a post-acceptance section, and then how do you know they've completed that post-acceptance section? So we'll talk about that also in that training session. And then also, just so you know, if I can get back to my site here, there's a question. Let me open this up. I don't think I've changed my setting. Any of the webinars that we've done in the past, if you go to hit help here, this will take you to your knowledge base in your site. So if you hit the help in the lower right-hand corner, it will take you to the knowledge base. And any videos that we've done so far are located under the webinar section. And then you'll notice here we have a little playlist you can click on, and that playlist will show any of the past webinars we've done. And so if you're looking for maybe the last one in regards to this, how to set up the tasks, you can actually come here, and I know it was on there, setting up your evaluation process. You can click on that, and then that'll give you access to how to do that. And that's actually the last one that was loaded to the site, so that's actually the first one that's showing here on the page. So that's how you can get some of our past webinars if you want to see them. So I'll go ahead and leave the site open for just a little bit longer. And of course, like I said before, if you have any suggestions, on anything that you think might be beneficial to have adjusted on the site, you can always enter a support ticket in Zendesk. And then the support team is always tracking those. And like I said, if there's enough clients that ask for the same thing, then a lot of times the team meets and determines, is that something we want to build into our process? So the more questions, more suggestions, the better. And then the more we can assist individuals. Okay. So I will go ahead and leave this open for just a little bit longer. I'll leave this webinar open for about maybe a couple more minutes to give you time to get these open and to download them. And then know that they will be available for you to download. And then if you can't get them downloaded, again, in that knowledge base that I just went to, under the help here in the knowledge base, these guides are also available for you to review. And of course, today we covered, these items here, managing 11, 12, on how to manage and review. So those are here available if you want to review them and get them that way as well. Okay, so that'll end our session for today, and I appreciate all for your time. And we'll go ahead. In regards to how long are the training videos available, they are always on the knowledge base. So if you're still on the line and I just saw that question, then yes, these videos are always available on the knowledge base. They're here until we do a new video. Once we do a new video, we'll replace it with the replacement version. But they're always out there available for you to view them. Okay, I hope that answered your question.